It's the Auburn Observer podcast. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Ferguson here at Observer HQ in Auburn, Alabama, joined by my co-pilot, per usual, Dan Peck. Hello, Dan.
Ahoy, Justin. Great to see you, as always. Don't remember the last time we did this remotely, but always happy to lay it down. And shout out to the Peck Pack. Shout out to the sickos. Shout out to everybody rocking with us during the off season. And yeah, always excited to fire this up.
Well, so
are you checking to see what's on the? Are you checking to see what's on?
I did, and it auto played behind me. I don't know if you heard any of that.
I'm gonna guess "Need You Tonight" by In Excess is playing on Wings right now.
All right, let me see what we got.
I'll say while you look it up, I used an In Excess song as one of the outros because we were talking some soccer, and so I picked something off the album Kick. To be the outro.
I'm like, oh wait, this is W. Lee. All right, here we go. Can you hear that? You got any of that?
No, I'm not hearing.
Okay, that's good. That just means my mic's pretty not that sensitive. That is "Keep Your Hands to Yourself" by the Georgia Satellites.
Oh, wow.
So.
One of the, I mean, there aren't that many bands I would safely call one-hit wonders that you hear on Wings 94.3, but the Georgia Satellites, best known for "Keep Your Hands to Yourself," and yeah, that's one of those. You know, the '80s had a lot of those retro sounding rock songs. Billy Joel did his '50s stuff, and I don't know. I always thought George Thorogood had a little bit of that, in him, and for sure there's a little bit of that with "Keep Your Hands to Yourself."
Yeah. So real quick, if you'd like to know, here as we wrap up the Wings game, according to Wikipedia, "Keep Your Hands to Yourself" it came out in 1986. Because it doesn't sound like a song from 1986, like you were saying. It reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. The problem was it didn't reach number 1 because "Living on a Prayer" by Bon Jovi was taking that top spot. So there you go. Keep your hands to yourself, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, we're excited to be back here doing an old school, a classic Observer podcast. They used to all be like this back in the day, and we're burning the midnight oil once again. Dan's got busy. His day job's keeping him busy this week, so we had to fit it in the schedule. I will say this, just real quick before we get going for today's podcast. Next couple of weeks, I've got trying to get some guests lined up. Next week on the premium show, not this week. We couldn't schedule it this week, but next week on the premium show, our friend Nicole Auerbach of NBC Sports is going to join us. We're going to talk. It's kind of funny. We're recording this right after the news that Brendan Sorsby's not going to be playing at Texas Tech, that he's going to go into the supplemental draft, and that whole very stupid saga is over.
Don't bury the lead, Justin. Cody Campbell's announcement that Brendan Sorsby is
Cody Campbell, the God King of West Texas, has decreed.
Immortan Cody Campbell has decided that he announced that Brendan Sorsby
is kind of what is it called? Gastown, isn't it called Gastown? He's kind of that works for him for sure.
And they are the Raiders.
We would probably have been talking about that, but we're going to talk some big picture stuff with college football, college sports, and how it applies to Auburn. Maybe talk some kind of national stuff because Nicole's got a really interesting perspective as someone who covers the sport nationally, also really tied in with the Big Ten with her work at NBC. Obviously, the Big Ten and the SEC are having to kind of lock arms at this point in the news cycle. So we'll do that's going to be next week. Working on a guest for later this week, so stay tuned on that. So the premium pod later this week will have that, and then in a couple of weeks, I want to go ahead and put this out there. just for people who are subscribers, by the way, auburnobserver.com, $6 a month or $60 a year. $60 is, more bang for your buck, better value, so to speak. If you get a subscription there, all of our newsletters, all of our podcasts come straight to your inbox as soon as it drops. In a couple of weeks, I'm going on vacation for a week and some change. And so, leaving at the end of next week, and then the week after that, it's going to be what I'm calling Contributors Week at the Observer. We've got some fun stuff in the works on the newsletter side. We got some of our contributors who are lining up to keep you guys taken care of on the newsletter side. And then on the podcast side, Dan's working on getting a guest or two to fill in for me on the podcast, which would be a lot of fun. And then also, I will say, friends of the program will be back, and they will be on the main feed. They will take over. It'll be kind of a FOTP takeover episode at one point there. So that's what's going on between really now until the end of the month, beginning of July, here on the podcast. So, Dan, this is a podcast that we are no strangers to doing the format that we've done this in the past in the summer. This is kind of a dry time for news. We talked with our pal Christian Clemente about Auburn recruiting, a little golf as well, last week on the premium show. So if you're not a subscriber, that'd be a great one to subscribe and listen to, because Christian went super in depth with us on just how Auburn is doing what they've been doing on the recruiting trail.
Are you talking about Chip?
Yeah, old Chip Clemente.
Chip was fantastic. I picture, you mentioned earlier, I imagine it's like the SEC and the Big Ten are like back to back fighting everyone else off, like it's like something out of Rush Hour or the Lethal Weapon poster, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I think that's the climate right now in college athletics. Yeah,
and so unless you're talking about that kind of stuff, which we will later, and we've got some other stuff going on as well. Like I said, later this week, I want to bring in a guest later this week. We're going to talk kind of conference-wide stuff, kind of as part of our summer stuff. This podcast, though, if you were around with us last year, we did this quite a bit, and sometimes it was like the whole crux of a show. Sometimes it was a segment of the show.
It was the whole crux of a summer, I believe, last year.
Well, actually, Dan, I went back and looked, because, what were we talking about this time last year? And, we would have topics, and then we would veer into these, and then sometimes you would do only these in an episode. So if you're new to us, or if you weren't around last summer, we have these things called ObservFours, which is kind of like Mount Rushmore season. It's kind of like, I think Dan's original thought process behind it was like the Letterboxd top 4. But we're going to pick top 4 of a given subject matter. And we're going to do 4 of them in this size. We've done this in the past 4, kind of a 4x4 episode, as we like to call them. We've got a football one, we've got a basketball one, and then we've got a couple of wild cards as well. And this is just going to be kind of a free-flowing discussion about the topic at hand. It's a very off-season episode, so if you're looking for news, you're looking for, deep analysis, this is not going to be the episode for that. Although I do think my football topic, we will get to talk about the 2026 season and Auburn, so it'll be some fun in that as well. And I will say, before we keep going, number 1, you can always send these in. If you have a suggestion for one, shoot them to us. We got through 3 months just doing people's ideas. We had a really good. You remember Vince last year, Dan? You remember our pal Vince? He was constantly giving us one. So you can do that. Mailbags as well. Mailbag questions as well. It's kind of the same format. I just take them free for all. Secondly, it's just, if you're listening to this and you want to throw in your own top 4s of the stuff we've talked about, shoot a message to us. Put it in the comments. Email us. Tweet them at us. We want to hear a discussion, because this is how we get through the off season together. Because this is going to be kind of a drier time for news for, I guess, about a month and some change, maybe, until we get to really media days in Tampa in about like I said, middle of July. So this is going to be a very, very off season episode. So buckle up, boys and girls.
Vince, of course, one of our pals. Of course, absolutely big shout out to our pal Vince.
Yeah, no, he was on fire last year.
He's doing great.
He should have been a producer on the podcast by the end of it. Oh, by the way, before we're
giving those credits out, right?
Yeah, you need to explain that. Dan texted me on Monday, and I guess a bio for your new job is the best way, I guess.
That's right.
I could say. And you called yourself the executive producer of this podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Which I think I look at it as I'll share EP credit on it. Of course, with anyone you think deserves it. But you're somewhere as the founder of the your name's on the masthead, of course. But I
studio president.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And so I'm thinking EP of this. I'm sort of the I'm one of the showrunners.
Okay.
On the Auburn Observer podcast.
Yep. That works. All right. So, like I said, we have a football one, a basketball one, and 2 wild cards. The fun part about this is Dan does not know. We each picked one. I took a football one.
You're the chairman, by the way. Of course, you're the Laparca, right? You're the chairman of the Observer.
Second Laparca reference this month. We've got
we lead the league in
yes.
Laparca references.
So I got a football and a wild card. I didn't tell Dan what I did. Dan's got a basketball and a wild card. We don't know each other's topic. But this is an interesting way, I think, to look at Auburn and this roster in the lens of the context of college football, because in the SEC specifically, as we talk about this, because I think it's very easy to get bogged down into the weeds of okay, here's who we think or is at each position, here's how we feel about them and all that. But it's okay, when you put it into a bigger scope of what is that going to mean for the season, what is that going to mean for your conference, how does it compare in the conference? Here we go, Dan. Give me an ObservFour here. We'll go back and forth here of your top 4 candidates for Auburn football in the 2026 Auburn football roster to be all SEC this season. Now, I say that to say because last season Auburn had exactly 4 players make an all SEC team of some sort. 2 of them are still on the team. 2 of them are no longer on the team. We can use those 2 that are still on the team if we want to use them as picks. But that's what we're going to do here.
And for a couple of format questions, we're each given 4 here.
Yeah,
and we don't want to repeat names. Let's try
for
to,
this one. Let's try
to name 8 players.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to lead us off? I'll give you the honor.
I'll give you the honor. Go for it.
You don't have All-Americans come back all that often, right?
No.
So I think Xavier Atkins is a safe first choice here, just because that's a guy who had such a productive season last year, and it's hard. It's difficult to remember that was his first real taste of college football action.
Right.
Like this is a guy who signed with LSU and had spent a year at LSU, but didn't see the field very much at all in his year at LSU. And so, we just and anything can happen, of course. But the thought that Xavier Atkins could maybe benefit from the experience he got last year and get even better than an All-American season as a linebacker. I think there are several names who come to mind immediately, but I think none more so than the All-American linebacker back for another season.
Yeah, it is the easiest call here for sure. I was looking, if you look at all the linebackers in the SEC that got on an All-SEC team last year, Xavier Atkins is the only one who made a first or second team that's back in the SEC. He is that kind of guy. He's going to be that I guess kind of torchbearer for linebackers in the league this year. His playmaking was absurd. I was looking at some stats earlier this week, and you look at it, it's yeah, man, no one's had as many sacks as him at Auburn since Jeff Holland. No one's had as many tackles for loss as him since Nick Fairley. No one's had as many stops, unsuccessful plays generated for an offense by his tackles since Deshaun Davis at Auburn. So it's just like you were looking at like in several areas, a best-in-the-decade type of performance last season from Xavier Atkins. And, oh, by the way, this dude's back. Rarely do you get to bring guys like this back. Usually you have uber production like this, and he's gone. And usually to the NFL, obviously in this day and age of college football, especially with the coaching change, it could have easily been into the transfer portal for Xavier Atkins, where he would have been one of the biggest names in the portal if he'd have gone in. Instead, Auburn was able to lock him down. Keeping DJ Durkin was big at that. And now you've got a guy that it's crazy to think, Dan, because of how productive he was last season, there's still room for him to become a better football player. That was kind of the sense and the storyline around him this spring.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, there are several reasons to pick Atkins here. And, you know, the thought that, again, this was a second-year player. Like, one of the reasons, maybe the biggest reason that he wasn't taken in the NFL draft earlier this year is because, by rule, he had to come back for another year of college football. He wasn't eligible. Most guys who are draft eligible have that kind of season, and that's all the tape they need. And it's on to getting your name called pretty early in the NFL draft. I don't know how the NFL views Xavier Atkins, but I know how teams in the league view him. I know how Auburn folks should view him, and he's, you know, it was a, like you said, pretty easy choice for me as the first name in this exercise.
Yeah, I mean it's a clear first choice. I would say, since you got him, I'll go ahead and take the other guy who was all SEC last year, and that was Jeremiah Cobb. Yep. Now, the path for Jeremiah Cobb to repeat as an all SEC player, he was third-team coaches last season. The AP has two teams. The coaches have three teams, I believe, is how that works. He was a third-team all SEC. The competition at running back in the league is gnarly this year. When you think about, like, back this season, you know, Ahmad Hardy, and obviously there was the Ahmad Hardy involved in the shooting earlier this season. I don't know. I'm just going to say, be honest, I don't know what the latest is on him, but that was something that I know was a pretty scary situation. But, you know, Kawan Lacey was an All-American. He's back. He's on the cover of the new college football game. Jaden Ball is back at Florida.
Frazier's going to have a huge season, right? Like,
yeah, Nate Frazier's back. I think Deshaun Bishop's back at Tennessee as well. Like, it's a crazy amount of talent at the running back position. But, Dan, to that point, Jeremiah Cobb was really good last season. And we know that this is an offense that is going to want to run the ball and want to run the ball really consistently. And he's gonna get the first shot. He's gonna get the first crack. Now, I think they're gonna try to keep him fresher. I think they're gonna rotate more, but I think he can get a very healthy amount of carries like he did last season without necessarily wearing him out either, just because of the pace and the rotation. So a senior Cobb, bringing him back, I think is a pretty easy one where it's like, okay, could he be one of the top 6 running backs in the SEC again this year? I think absolutely.
Yeah, and just to be clear, had you taken Xavier Atkins with your first pick, I think Jeremiah Cobb is the name that stands out as to who would have been available to me. I mean, to be able to produce the way he did last year with an offense that was, I think, to be diplomatic about it, easy to defend.
Yes,
right. Like I think that's a way to describe like last year's Auburn offense, and yet Jeremiah Cobb was as productive as he was, even with some games where a little bit puzzling his usage. Right, like it felt like there could have been an even bigger season last year for Jeremiah Cobb, and now he gets to try his luck on an offense that has a quarterback like Byron Brown and pieces like the ones that Auburn has added. Not to mention the philosophy of Alex Golish's system and the other offensive coaches that play a role in the game plan. So, yeah, I think that the conditions are right for Jeremiah Cobb to have a really big season if he's if he's able to be available the entire year, because I mean, we've discussed on a previous episode, who knows if Alex Golesh wants to run Byron Brown as much as he did at USF. They still want to run the ball. It may not be as quarterback driven. It may be Jeremiah Cobb as the tip of the spear for that Auburn offense.
I think they're going to run him a good bit, though. Brown.
And it's probably a nice pivot to Byron Brown being the next pick off the board.
Okay. Wow. All right.
I mean, I think that, in a year where quarterback feels wide open in the SEC, a lot of the best quarterbacks from last year are no longer in the league, and a lot of teams are starting over or trying something very different at quarterback. I mean, you look around, and I mean, you have Arch Manning back. Gunnar Stockton made the playoff. John Mateer made the playoff.
Trinidad.
And Chambliss made the playoff at Ole Miss. I mean, and Sam Levitt has made the playoff in his past. He's now at LSU. I mean, there are good quarterbacks in the league. Lenora Sellers has had very productive stretches in his college football career, even if last year was somewhat disastrous for South Carolina. And sidebar,
Marcel Reed.
Marcel, how could you forget Marcel Reed?
Another playoff guy.
Absolutely. Like a sidebar here with South Carolina. Like it is interesting how Auburn and South Carolina really took very divergent paths when faced with a kind of a similar situation last year. Like South Carolina decided let's run this back with a lot of the key pieces intact, despite that A&M loss, right? Like that's. I don't know how. I mean, if it doesn't work this year, there are going to be a lot of people saying he never should have coached another game after blowing a 75-point lead to Texas A&M.
Which, I mean, not the same situation, but that was the talk heading into Florida last year. Like it's the exact same thing that you saw with Florida.
So I think it's worth monitoring South Carolina this year to see if it pays off. That they decided to bring back a lot of the key pieces from a relatively disappointing season. But my point remains, Byron Brown. It's a competitive field, but this is a guy who had a 3,000, 1,000 season last year, and there haven't been that many of those in D1 college football in the last decade. And that's
the thing. The ceiling of Byron Brown at Auburn is definitely one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. That's the ceiling. It's going to be tough, but it's the ceiling. If he's that dude, he's going to have the stats that will move past some of those guys that are kind of more pocket passer, game manager type of quarterbacks, as good as they might be.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair way to describe the situation facing Byron Brown here. And I would point out a lot of those, kind of like with Xavier Atkins, most players who have a productive season like that don't build on it a year later because they're not in college football anymore. Like you look at that list of 3,000, 1,000 seasons, most of those were the final year in college football for those quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
Like including the last guy to do it before Byram, Jaden Daniels, in his Heisman winning season at LSU. Like he didn't come back. Imagine if that
came back.
Yeah, if that had been a season where it's like, okay, well, let's see what he can do building on that. And again, I understand different situation having done it at LSU, but still the fact that Byron Brown gets to play another year of college football after doing that, and we get to see how it goes, making the jump to the SEC. No guarantees, but if he has a big year, it could be big enough to get him in that top 3.
All right, my second pick, I'm going with the other one that I think is pretty obvious, and that's Alex McPherson.
Yeah.
The best version of Alex McPherson is one of the best kickers in college football. We know that. He's healthier. He looked a lot better this spring than what he did even last year. Now, the competition there is still pretty tough. Tate Sandell won the Groza Award at Oklahoma last year. He's back. Georgia's kicker's really good. He's back for another year. But if Auburn can put some points on the board this year, if this offense can put him into situations where he could be kicking a lot of extra points or just finishing drives with 3, like I think this offense is capable of doing, the best version of Alex McPherson is nearly perfect and got that kind of game to him where, yes, he definitely is award-winning material. And if you're saying, can he be one of the top 3 kickers in the league by season's end? Absolutely. I think this one's a pretty good one to go with, because again, I'm heavily buying an Alex McPherson jump to like award-winning material this year for Auburn.
It could be the return of the Mack, as a matter of fact, this season for Auburn, and again, it's such a cool story to see him healthy, and I want to be careful here, but like I got to be around him a little bit in the spring, and there was on the field at A-Day. He looks happy. Like he looks psyched to be able to get to do this again. And you know what? I can't blame him, right? Because it's probably more fun than other things he had to endure in the last couple of years, battling his way back to a college football field. So it's like, and again, this isn't a like Chris Connolly human interest story, right? Like this is a story of one of the best kickers in college football, and he happened to have to go through this the last couple of seasons. But no, I think that he's absolutely, like, can he kick it? Like, yes, he can. Like, this is a guy who has the kind of game that you need to be an all-conference kicker. We've seen it. He's demonstrated it before in his college football career. It would be such a triumph for him to get back to that. But he absolutely has the talent to do it.
All right, who you got?
It gets tougher. Now,
it does get tougher from here.
I'm gonna throw, and I would be curious. I guess I'll find out if it's not the next name on your board. Is Joe Simmons a crazy pick here? Just because like that's a guy who I think he's got the inside track to start at tackle. It's a big jump coming to the SEC, but I do believe that like a healthy year for Joe Simmons in a season where the Auburn offense is good. I think that he would be. I mean, maybe you could go with someone else, on the interior, but I would think Joe Simmons would be like, if you told me Auburn started the same 5 guys all season on the offensive line and it was a good year for the Auburn offense, I would think Joe Simmons would have as much of an argument as any of the 5 guys to be considered for all conference.
Yeah, that's an interesting one to pick, and I don't hate it. I'm not going to go with this guy. Cole Best was the other one that would kind of come to mind on the offensive line, just because I think you need a center. Can you be one of the top 3 centers? I don't know what the rest of the centers around the league look like necessarily, but I do think, again, if Auburn's offense clicks, he could be in that mix. But I think the thing with Simmons, though, is like they look at this dude and think, I mean, he's big. He's got that college football playoff experience. Like there could be some real buzz about him if he's a guy that looks the part this season. Simmons is a fascinating piece on that offensive line. 'Cause you're right, Dan. Like I would be stunned if he doesn't. So it's like him and Best. It's like I'd be stunned if Auburn's starting offensive line doesn't have that combination there. So yeah, I think you could go with either one of those. I'm just fascinated to see what this offensive line looks like, because on paper it doesn't look like it's going to be great, but the youth it has, the depth it has, the recruiting it's doing right now, I think better days are ahead for Auburn's offensive line. What does it have the talent? Does it have the top end talent to be a great offensive line right away? I don't know. It's kind of the big question mark. I think that's the thing that might hold this offense and this team's record back the most. Again, I still think this team is going to be improved and like bowl caliber type of team this year, but that's the big question mark. But we know that to build that kind of offensive line, it's going to take time, and obviously you can't do that in just one off season.
Interesting to think, especially when you consider last year, that we've now named five players, I think. Like you're about to name your third, right? Like we've named 5 players and one of them plays defense. Like of the 5 guys so far, it's like you would think, based on last year, that several of the most obvious names on the board would be defensive players because Auburn's defense was so clearly the strength of the team last year. But I don't take issue with any of the names that we've said so far. And I do think, Xavier Atkins, clearly is that first down defense. I suspect some defensive names will surface before we finish with our list of four each.
All right, I'll go with one here. This one's kind of cheating because it can play both ways. Cornerback is wide open this year in the league. There's a lot of really good corners that are now in the NFL, all SEC material. I'm interested to see about what Andre Jordan Jr. ends up becoming for Auburn because he was so good at UCLA against really good competition. However, I'm not going with Andre Jordan. I'm going to go with Rashawn Pleasant because while I don't think corner is necessarily going to be his easier path, it is a path he can get. Look, if you look at the numbers last season, Rashawn Pleasant was pretty good if he can cut down his penalties. You look at it, when you look at the advanced stats, quarterback rating when targeted, how many snaps per target, yards allowed, all that kind of stuff. He graded out as maybe Auburn's best corner in those areas. Him and Jay Crawford were definitely towards the top of the mark there for Auburn. The additional piece to it is, as we know, Rashawn Pleasant is an All-American caliber kick returner as well. So you can get that extra kind of boost there of all-purpose return specialist, whatever you want to call it. So if he can be a great starting cornerback in the SEC, which I think, again, if he can cut down his penalties, I think he's a really good one. And I think he could get the stats that catch voters' attention this time of year when you get to the end of the season. Combined with the fact that he's an electric kick returner, I'm buying Auburn's special teams this year because of the amount of emphasis that Alex Golesh places on it, the special teams coordinator that they have now, and getting a dedicated one of those, of what he means to the team. And, obviously, I wrote about it not too long ago, all those aspects. I keep going back to, I really liked the way Rashawn Pleasant played on defense last season. I thought that he was definitely on the upswing. And then we already know what he brings as a return guy.
Now, Pleasant's a great choice. I mean, obviously, I think the kick return seems like more of an inside track to be all conference than his work as a corner. But he's still an effective defensive back, and could be a guy who plays as much corner as anyone on the team this year. And so, I think that's an inspired choice, and a guy that I wouldn't be all that shocked if we're talking about Pleasant. I mean, the kick return stuff. He's off the charts as a kick returner, and then as a corner, we'll see. I'm really torn between two guys, and I'm betting on potential either way. One of them played a lot more than the. Can I do a tie? Can I?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go tie between Eric Winters and Jared Smith.
Oh,
right here as sort of if I'm picking a defensive breakout, right? Jared Smith, because I think he would have the ability to get the counting stats that you need to impress, and then if Winters has the kind of season that I think some folks believe he could have,
he was really good last year.
I mean, incredible freshman season. It's tough to be I think your team has to win a lot of games, and you probably need to do some impressive things individually to get all conference as a safety. And that's another position where you've got multiple NFLers you're competing with around the league. But he's really, really good. Right? That's the other side of that Eric Winters argument. If you're on no, he can't be all conference this year. The flip side would be maybe
no. Yeah, I mean, I could see it for sure. I mean, we've seen young safeties in the SEC really break out and become all SEC type of material. I mean, I think safety's a tougher competition this year than corner is, but no, this is a good pick too. And then Jared Smith is like, yeah, it's the counting stats. Like I think that you really, really like, what you've got in Deshaun Womack, and I think you're going to be able to kind of get creative in your pass rush this year. Maybe some of those young defensive linemen, like what if one of those guys kind of turns the corner? But yeah, like the version of Smith we saw in the spring, if he carries that over to the fall, he's a terror out there. My final pick, I could go in a number of different directions here for this one, but
if you want to shout out a couple of honorable mentions,
no, I
right?
think I've locked in on one.
Because I did a tie, I
yeah,
too.
I've locked in on one here.
Okay.
If we're to believe that Auburn's offense is going to be better this season, if we're to believe that they're going to be able to put up numbers, if we're to believe that Byron Brown and this USF attack is as advertised and can give that boost that Auburn needs, well, guess what? Byron Brown's got to have dudes catch the ball for him. And I think the best bet on the team is Chaz Nimrod. In the spring, he was the guy constantly talked about, right? I just wrote earlier in the week, or on Monday at the Observer, why I'm all in on Jeremiah Coger and why I think the hype's there. And I believe all that. Coger's only played 1 year. Nimrod's played a bunch of years. He's played in the SEC. And if he doesn't get hurt last season, he has 1,000-yard potential at USF. Look, if he has 1,000-yard potential at Auburn, he's all SEC material. If you can get to that mark, you're just going to be one of those types of guys, right? So it's a loaded field. It's a lot of competition. The ball's going to be moving around. But Nimrod's versatility, his experience, and just the way people talk about him is just, I think he's a step above. To take nothing away from Keyshawn Singleton or Jeremiah Coger, who I think both could have great seasons at Auburn. Nimrod just has some attributes that gives him a little bit of a cut above when you're trying to project what offensive or what wide receiver could end up having the best year out of this career.
How many plays did they run at A-Day before they threw a deep ball to Chaz Nimrod in the end zone? Wasn't it like the
third? It was like 2 or 3.
I believe, I think the answer's 2. Yeah. And then on the third play, they and it's millimeters away from being a play that I think changes how folks perceive both. As silly as this sounds, like if they complete that pass, it changes how folks are talking about both.
If they complete that pass, you don't have people having to grift off of Byron Brown didn't have a great A-Day. It's like, okay, neither did Cam Newton. What are we talking about?
Watch out for Tristan. No, it's like, I know what you mean. Like Chaz, I think Chaz is all spring long, even when they would say positive stuff about Singleton or Coger, or I know Neptune was sort of battling injuries, but that's another guy. I think Neptune's going to play a lot this fall if he's healthy, and I think he might start as your punt returner as well, based on what we know. That's a guy who's going to be out there a lot. But no, Nimrod profiles is the number one, and I think that's a guy who, if he does what a number one can do in this offense, absolutely could be in the conversation to get noticed by the conference.
All right. Again, this is it's just a fun way to kind of look at this team because, again, it's kind of funny. I think the defense is you got potential on offense. You got more maybe name star power on offense. And I think defense, much like the nature of the position itself or the side of the ball itself, it's more of a collective. I really like Auburn's defense. Do I think they're going to rack up a ton of counting stats with individual guys to get recognition? Maybe not as much. This was one of the better defenses in the SEC last year, and just 3 guys made on all SEC teams last season. Atkins obviously being the headliner there. But yeah, it's just I think it's a really interesting thought experiment of, okay, who are we banking on to be kind of the stars? It's a different way to kind of look at it. Who are we banking on to be the stars of this team heading into the season? And, given the competition they're going to face, because especially now with 16 teams in the league. And, oh, by the way, the 2 teams you've added the most recently are machines when it comes to having talent. It's not no disrespect, right? But, when they added Texas A&M and Missouri, it was okay, potential would be really good. And obviously Missouri had some really good years at the beginning, but it's different when Texas is trying to carry the biggest payroll in all of college football, and Oklahoma is consistently putting out, top 10 caliber rosters year in and year out. So that's going to be something to, competition-wise, it gets tougher and tougher each year, for sure. All right, what you got for me?
All right. I guess if you want to expand this to like SEC basketball instead of Auburn basketball, we'd accept it. But I'd sort of preferably it would be 4 Auburn examples.
Okay.
Players you were wrong about, players that you thought either one way or the other. I mean, if you want to go with guys that you thought that you maybe dismissed at first. And because I've got several examples of guys that I didn't necessarily see it happening, and they ended up making good Auburn or elsewhere in their college basketball careers. So I'm sort of interested to know where you start the bidding here, since I'll let you go first. On mine.
How about this? I'm going to try to lean positive here because, look, I could sit here and say,
exactly.
I thought this guy was going to be awesome, and he didn't turn out to be awesome. And it's well, yeah, there's usually different factors for that. I'll tell you a guy that I was wrong.
So we can even say it could be players you underestimated.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I like that.
It doesn't. Yeah, I'm not here to call out busts.
No. I'll go the leadoff, and people are going to hear me say this, and they're going to be to a certain section of this Auburn fan base, it's going to be I said blasphemy here.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'll just say it right off the bat. I did not think late career Dylan Cardwell was going to be anywhere near the player that he was. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
This should just be the Dylan Cardwell Award.
Yep.
Look, here's the deal with Dylan Cardwell, man. He was so good on defense towards the end of his career that it was off the chart. His impact was off the charts. And I knew he was a good defensive player because look, man, he ran well. He moved his feet well for a big guy. He did all that. Early in his career, it was like having 4-on-5 sometimes out there on offense because it's just you weren't going to get a whole lot or what you like. I think people can kind of forget that early in his career, it was a lot of Dylan Cardwell was the ball would get in his hands. It would just be something bizarre or just mishaps would happen. And the free throws obviously were tough, and he had to be a guy that was he was a dunker, but he wasn't necessarily the constant lob threat, the constant, rim runner that he ends up becoming later in his career. I think he definitely stepped up his offensive game down the stretch. But on top of that, just to be defense, crazy off the charts kind of play. And I didn't think that he could be a starter on a championship team. And he proved me wrong. Not to say I thought he was a bad player. I just thought there were too many limitations to his game. But I think Auburn did a really good job of building a team where it's if he's your fifth guy, he's a heck of a fifth guy because he's going to give you that energy. He's going to give you that hustle. He's going to give you that defense. And you will live with some of the shortcomings on offense. And I think he did a better job towards the end of his time at Auburn of masking his weaknesses on offense, especially not playing to him, leaning as hard as humanly possible on his strengths to the point where not only was he a key player on a championship team, the best team Auburn's ever had, he's got a guaranteed contract in the NBA doing the exact same thing. And that's mind-blowing to me. No disrespect to the guy at all, but I just thought, maybe just energy, bench big. Every now and then, you'll roll with the punches with him. No, he turned out to be a very good starter for Auburn.
I thought with Dylan that the weaknesses were going to be so pronounced that it sort of nullified the strengths. And
100%,
it's like what people say about Paul Heyman as a booker, where it's he was so good at hiding your weaknesses and emphasizing your strengths and turning pieces that maybe people didn't see as as ready for prime time, and getting the absolute most out of them. And I think with Dylan, he was able to get, and I'm not crediting Bruce too much for this, although Bruce Pearl absolutely deserves he had a hand in Dylan Cardwell's development and what we're talking about here. But the way Dylan was able to gradually phase out the weaknesses of his game and just become someone who could really lean on the things he does well, to the point where even if it's not prioritized in the NBA draft, we said NBA teams are looking for guys on the cheap who can do what Dylan does. And guys like that, especially if they show up in the summer league and that energy translates. So yeah, it's Dylan would have been my first answer too. Like that's a
and I think call. we could share Dylan as number one, because I think this is basically the Dylan Cardwell Award. And look, man, prove dorks like me wrong as much as possible. The dude's making millions of dollars now in the NBA, and it's just being himself, and like that's success. He won, you know.
I got a guy I doubted, but quickly changed my mind. But I doubted him at first. I'll wear it forever. Speaking of NBA players, I couldn't shake why Walker barely played at North Carolina. That was the and then when I saw him in action, I said, "Oh, never mind. Roy Williams is just like, that's their problem. Whatever. Like him not seeing the court at North Carolina is the deal there. But I was kind of skeptical throughout that offseason because this is a guy who barely played in that season at North Carolina. At North Carolina used him somewhat sparingly in his true freshman season, and then you watch him at Auburn, and he's an impact player from the moment he gets on the floor, and and that's, I know that was to be expected based on who he was coming out of high school, but it really it was night and day what he was able to do at Auburn versus that first season at North Carolina, and I think pretty early on you see him moving out there and you realize. Now I wasn't going to practice that offseason. You probably saw it.
Saw it pretty quickly.
You saw it 15 minutes into the first practice.
It's like, you know what, former 5-star who's 7-1.
Yeah,
I think that'll work.
But I went into the season sort of holding my breath, and really quickly I realized no, you can throw away the receipt on Walker.
I pulled back his stats up again. 4.5 blocks a game is stupid.
Do you have the Carolina stats? Because again, it's kind of puzzling. Like that.
Oh, he barely played at Carolina. He averaged 9 minutes a game. 4 points, 3 rebounds, less than a block per game. It's absurd.
Yeah, and I know it's playing the result, right? Like after seeing him have that season at Auburn, but
right,
you come away thinking how is that possible? Right? Like in what universe?
How did you mess this up, Roy? It's crazy. Wow. I was not expecting you to go that route, but hey, props to you for admitting it.
I'll wear it. Yeah.
This one's gonna be a little different. I have another one I want to get to. I'll probably save my other one for the end. But how about this one? Auburn goes to the Final Four in 2017-2018, and Jared Harper goes to the league early, or goes pro early, and it's like Auburn's rolling with Javon McCormick as its starting point guard, and I'm like, we'll see. I remember it's like Turbo Jones is in there, and obviously it didn't work out there with him, but that was a guy that I know there was a lot of excitement around, and it's just like, all right, let's see how this all plays out. Obviously, Samir Dowdy, being the lead dog, what that could do for a backcourt. Javon McCormick finishes the year as one of the 3 or 4 best floor generals in the SEC on a pretty good Auburn team, that won 25 games, 12 in the SEC. Had some momentum heading into the postseason. We've just seen how it would have had to have played out. Obviously, COVID cancels that, but for him to be the lead, the point guard, the floor general for a 25-win team in the regular season, that's quite remarkable for Javon McCormick. And I thought, his role of that backup point guard, he was perfect for that role. and that his background made him kind of good, like a good fit there. And then lo and behold, man, he takes that starting job and runs with it. And just how many times over the last few years have we said, man, Auburn could use another guy like Javon McCormick to help them out at point guard. And they've had some really, really good ones for sure. But like there was just something about Javon that like I do remember being like, I didn't think he quite had that in him when he had to step up to it, to the fact where I think he's one of the most underrated players of the Bruce Pearl era.
McCormick's a fantastic pick. Like because I vividly remember thinking, like, especially if you're trying to step in for Jared Harper, it's like you need to be able to shoot. Mm-hmm. And there were questions as to had Javon demonstrated that shooting ability before stepping into the starting role. I think he was better than people remember in 18-19 in the Final Four season. But it was one of the big questions about the 1920 season was, is McCormick a starting point guard in the SEC? How's he going to do? And he was, he was everything you could have possibly wanted, I think, that year for a guy who was, who was in junior college just a couple of seasons earlier. That's a great call.
All right, who you got?
Ooh, McCormick was a consideration for me for sure. How about this? I had doubts about how it was going to go for Aiden at Alabama, and he's played well. Mm-hmm. Like that, I would like. I know that
it's probably the best way to phrase that.
I know his status is
uncertain. I don't think it's that uncertain.
I don't think it's that uncertain either.
No,
officially his status is uncertain. But I sort of wondered. I wondered how it was going to work for Aiden at Alabama, and upon leaving Auburn, and I think he's really taken to that system and straightened out some things in his game that needed fixing after his season at Auburn, and it's turned him into. He's had two very productive seasons on the floor for Alabama, which and I'm not sure like I'm alone here. Where it's like I don't know how many folks expected that. Like upon his.
I think people are going to write him off too much because of what he looked like as a freshman at Auburn, and he went to a situation and a style, a scheme that was perfect for him, and it's worked. It's worked out, and I think it's one of those things where like his weaknesses can get masked greater in that, and I think he's just gotten better as a player as time's gone on. Because guess what? He's a good basketball player. Yeah. Along those lines, I do have a strictly Auburn one for my fourth pick, but along those lines, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I was beyond impressed with Trey Donaldson's final year at Miami. I mean, he was all ACC material at Miami. He had some games at Miami that were fantastic. And after coming off of a year at Michigan where he was good, and Auburn obviously ran across him, he really stepped his game up, right? And he was a guy that I think Auburn, his 2 years at Auburn, there were highs and lows to it. And I think he played a role fairly well when he was here. I think Auburn needed something more and different, and they get it with obviously Tahad in that 24 season, the 24-25 season. But I just remember there were several games last season where it was like Trey Donaldson goes to Miami, and it's like Miami had been awful recently, and it's like, how's that team going to look? What does that look like with Trey Donaldson being your alpha out there? And the answer was, yeah, man, he was really, really good. And so I was pleasantly surprised by the way Trey Donaldson finished his college career. I think he had a good year at Michigan, and obviously, Auburn came across him in the Sweet 16. But really impressive the way things wrapped up for him at Miami, because I don't necessarily know if I saw in his first two seasons at Auburn as here is a high major starting point guard that can be a guy who can carry a team, carry an offense, be the tip of the spear on the defense, and do it consistently. I didn't know if I saw that necessarily in his first 2 years at Auburn, and he obviously made the best decisions for himself and finished well.
I mean, keep in mind, this is a guy where there were questions about, like, was he also going to play football or not? Like,
so quaint, huh?
Yeah, it's amazing to think. But no, Donaldson, I don't know if folks, when he left Auburn, I don't know if folks thought, oh, this is a guy who's going to spend several years as a high major, successful starting point guard for pretty good teams.
Yeah,
right?
he would have he had those like explosive games at times at Auburn, and it's just like, whoa, look at this guy. And then it's just like, I just didn't know if he could do it on a consistent basis. And as an upperclassman, he definitely did. All right, who you got? Wrap it up here.
Ooh, I feel like a lot of. Do you have a name that you know you're going to do? Because I wouldn't mind regrouping because a couple of the like McCormick and Donaldson were both in the mix.
Yeah,
and I'll
I'll
brainstorm.
go with my last one. It's a specific aspect of someone. I guess it's kind of similar to like with Dylan Cardwell, where it was like, could he grow his game and round it out to be that kind of guy? The case that I will always point back to with Auburn and being like, when you have the buy-in, when you have the right stuff around them, if you can plug into this defense, you have the capability to become a lead on that end of the floor, no matter what went on before you or what your pass was like. The shining example of that was Denver Jones. And Denver Jones' defense going from, this dude was a chucker. He was a bucket getter. He was really good at it. He was a volume scorer, shooter at FIU. And then 2 years later, he wraps up his Auburn career as one of the best one of the best perimeter defenders I've ever seen play at Auburn. Like, that transformation. Because when a guy... And you may see some of this, and again, Auburn's got, they had elite rim protection behind them, so that changed some things. But it's like, we see some of this with some of the transfers they got this offseason. And it's like, when you look at a transfer and you're like, we'll see about his defense. I think the upside for a place like Auburn, and we've got to see if this will continue under Stephen Pearl. Like, there were some success stories under Bruce, but then I will again point out that Stephen was instrumental in the defense, with these guys. The defense coordinator, the ability to take a guy that is not known for his defense and make defense a plus attribute of his. Denver is an extremely good example of that. And I think a minor example of that, because he always had that kind of in him, and you only got to see it for 1 year. Miles Keller was kind of the same way, where you come to Auburn to get better on defense, and it actually happens. Now, there have been some guys, including some guys here recently, I would say one in particular recently that we've seen, where it's like you come, want to get better on defense, it doesn't really click. It doesn't always happen for everybody. But when the buy-in's there and the development's there and the success is there, it can get pretty special because, again, Denver Jones was a former JUCO dude who went to FIU and was just the guy that had to carry his offense. He came to Auburn not having a whole lot of pedigree on the defensive end. He leaves as a guy that people are going to remember for a long time. I would say primarily for his defense. Like, he was obviously a really good scorer and a really good shooter, a really good offensive player. But like, I think 10, 20 years from now, when you say, "Hey, what do you remember most about Denver Jones?" I think Auburn basketball fans are going to say he had dudes in Alcatraz that season.
I mean, one of the best on-ball defenders like Auburn's had in the era. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll conclude my 4 with a sentence that sounds kind of silly now, where it's like, I thought Samir looked for his own shot too much.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
I thought especially kind of early on in that All SEC season. I was like, yeah,
he had too much Philly guard in him for your liking.
I was like, I thought there was a willingness to attempt difficult shots that maybe like with a really good team around you, that you didn't.
It could be a detriment.
Yeah.
Again, something we have seen before as well.
Yeah, and again, like this is players we underestimated. Mm-hmm. This is things we were wrong about. But like that's how I felt about Samir, like early on in that season, and gradually I realized like, no, he knows what he's doing. Like he can handle those turns, and he can navigate the waters.
I'll tell you, the reason why I never for a second underestimated Samir Dowdy at Auburn is because when he was on that scout team, when he had to sit out and transfer, he was busting people at practice every day. And that was like, but yeah, I mean, like, I think to a degree, he was kind of unlike anything Auburn had to that point under Bruce. Like, it was a departure, and to be able to plug that kind of player, I guess Stoff, maybe KT to an extent, you kind of had some of that in those games, but like Samir was different, right? And Samir had that kind of, and like I think some of the stuff you got out of Samir, especially on offense at Auburn, later on you see Auburn have success with guys like, I would say Chad Baker-Mazar is a great example of that. I would say Miles Kelly's a great example of that as well, where you're able to fit that into the system and make that work for you. But yeah, that is funny to think about. It's not nearly as funny as you ever doubting Walker Kessler.
Sure. But and even me doubting Walker Kessler isn't as crazy as a coach having Walker Kessler
correct
and playing
a Hall of Fame coach just being like, do we really need to play this guy that much?
And it's not like they went undefeated the year that they were barely playing Walker Kessler either. Like,
yeah, I mean, coaches can be wrong. Even the best ones can be dead wrong. And, like, I do think the best coaches are the ones who admit that. And then there are others that don't. And you see how things end for them.
Yeah, coaches and executive producers can be wrong all the time about this kind of stuff.
They're just like us. They're flawed humans like you and me. That was fun. That was fun. I had no idea where you were going with that, and that was a really interesting way to look at it. And I wonder if we played this game a year or two later, how many of the guys on this current Auburn team we'd be able to point back to. Because I think there's some candidates. I think there might be some candidates from that group.
Oh, I think there are folks who were underestimating Kevin Overton at times this past season.
Yeah. I tried to get people on board with it. And again, I didn't think he was going to be like shoot 50% from deep for a half of a season almost, but
I think it was Vegas where I really like came away. Was it St. John's?
Yeah.
Like he is a monster in that St. John's game, and they're shorthanded. Phillip didn't play again after the Michigan game, and it's Overton that just I came away thinking, this guy's got it.
He's a special dude. He's a special type of player. A guy that I think, obviously like Tahad and like other ones in the past for their like, because Tahad wasn't, but like some of those really good like championship teams that Auburn's had, like the two Final Four teams, the Jabari and Walker teams. Kevin Overton could have plugged right in and perfectly fit in with those guys, like not miss a beat on the floor, off the floor. Like he's that type of guy, and I think he's the type of dude you want to have on any type of team, for sure. That was fun. All right, wild card round. You ready?
Yeah. What do you got?
Here's mine. Dan, the World Cup's going on right now. Ooh. And I'm a big World Cup guy. Really enjoy watching the games. Loving watching it on Telemundo because I just hate Fox's product that much. Learning some Spanish, brushing up on it. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, shout out to Telemundo for staying on the field during the water breaks.
That's
the hydration breaks.
That's mostly why I've stuck to Telemundo. I would rather never hear Alexi Lawless's voice ever again. But them like proudly saying, no, we're gonna try to keep this as real to what you're used to in soccer as possible, I think is really cool.
And just to be clear, Fox said there was going to be a hybrid approach to these hydration breaks, and that hybrid approach so far has been cutting to commercial.
Yep.
Like and I believe some media outlet asked them about that today, and they had no comment on the hybrid approach. So no, shout out to Telemundo. They're killing it.
All right, Dan, I am going to ask you this question. I have a 4. I'm looking for your 4 as well.
Okay.
We are excluding the United States of America, but give me 4 national teams, 4 countries that you find yourself having a soft spot for It doesn't always have to be the World Cup. If you want to apply this to like Olympic sports or other international competitions, you can as well. I came to it with the World Cup approach. What are 4 countries outside of the United States that you're just like, man, I like watching these dudes. I like cheering for these guys.
Look, I've been rocking the samurai blue for a long time. This isn't something new,
Nope.
because they picked up the trash at the stadium this weekend and they're hanging around Jameis Winston or whatever. I've been rocking Team Japan for a long time. I'm sure it has something to do with my tape trading days and watching All Japan and stuff in like the 90s. But like I've shout out to Team Japan. And that one of the better games of the World Cup so far.
Oh gosh,
right?
so fun.
Japan and the Netherlands was killer. So I will start the bidding with Team Japan.
Japan's a great pick. I one that I would proudly say I'd be on as well. I'm not going to take them because you've taken them, but I own 2 Japanese national team soccer jerseys. I have them in my closet. I pulled them out. I pulled one of them out the other day. Big fan of Samurai Blue. Shout out Honda. Shout out Kagawa. Shout out all the legends. Endo. Like these are our guys.
Shout out Nakamura. Right,
Yes.
absolutely killing it on this year's team.
All right, my pick here, Dan, is a more of a sentimental one for me. I'll go with it. They're in the tournament this year. Might not be going so hot for them. We'll see how it goes. But South Africa, Bafana Bafana. And this is a sentimental pick because when they hosted the World Cup in 2010, the years leading up to it, and in 2010, my dad did work down there, went on mission trips down there, and built great relationships with people in South Africa. It was kind of really like he would bring us back stuff. I used to have a South African national team jersey from the World Cup. And I've just always had a soft spot. That 2010 goal, Shabalala's goal, is like all-time great. And South African soccer, especially in the context of like that nation's history, what they mean, what that means for the country, and obviously with like I said, with their history. I don't know. It's just always been one where it's like I've always wanted to want South Africa to be good at everything because it's something, there's a personal, there's a familial connection there. This is their first World Cup since they hosted it. Probably not going to be a long stretch for them. It's like they're going to be like one of these teams that would just love a point, would love a win, all that. But South Africa is like a very sentimental pick for me here.
Yeah, I hate to double up with bad guys from World War II, but my dad and my brother were both born in Germany.
Okay.
On military bases, but still American military bases, but still, and I visited the country several times, and I do, especially later in World Cups when I don't have a dog in the fight. Like I watched when Germany did that to Brazil.
Yep.
I was watching that in a bar in L.A. full of Brazil fans.
Oh,
so I will say that I'm repping. I'm repping Germany.
I'll tell you this, and again, given historical context, it's not always the best to say these words. The one thing I've always appreciated about the German national team, and they did this the other day when they played Curacao, and they obviously did it against Brazil. When they get going, they are ruthless. They don't just want to beat you. They want to demoralize you. They want to pick you apart systematically. And like that, when the German national team's at its best, because they can do it all. They can defend like madmen. They usually have an insane goalkeeper. Their midfielders are all over the place. They have speed and striking up top and a really good finish. Like they're a soccer machine when they get going.
Picture, think about any movie about, a team of underdogs. The bad guys in that movie, that's Germany. That's Germany's soccer team, right? Like the team that has it all together. and that operates like a machine, like you said. It's just German engineering.
Yeah.
But it is.
It's the famous Gary Lineker quote, which is football is a simple game. 22 men chase the ball for 90 minutes, and at the end the Germans win. Like that. Like that's what they do. That's what they do. All right, I'm going to go with. Oh, this one's a little tougher to admit at times, depending on who they are, what year it is, and why. It's gotten to evolve for me over the years, but I really like Portugal, and part of the reason why I really like Portugal is when I was younger, Manchester United had Cristiano Ronaldo. He was awesome. Now, the later and later we've gotten into Ronaldo's career, the more annoying and sometimes repellent I have found him.
Is he in Saudi Arabia? Is that where
He
he's
is.
playing this
There's
Pro Bowl?
a really good example of that as well.
Yeah.
There is a real chance. This is the best Portuguese team maybe ever that they've got at the World Cup. Their roster is stacked. And there's a real chance that he throws it all away being the egotistical dude that he is. Now, again, still, when he's on, it gets really, it gets dark quickly for defenders. But, like, being a Manchester United fan, there have been so many times over the years where a Portuguese player has been one of my favorite players on the team. And so, therefore, I find myself rooting for Portugal in competition. It was Ronaldo. It was Nani for a minute. These days, it's Bruno Fernandes. So I like Portugal. I'll tell you the other thing too. I love the dark red and green. I love their uniforms are always really sick. They've got a really cool. They got the logo with the cross and the shields on it. Like it's cool. So I hope Portugal goes deep this year. I hope Ronaldo doesn't sabotage the whole thing by doing his like bad Ronaldo stuff. But I really like Portugal. Portugal's probably, of all the European teams, I think Portugal's probably the one I ride for the hardest.
Where's Ronaldo in the hierarchy of like the best players in the world now? Like, is he like it's because I feel like in name recognition he's still like probably
Number
top
2.
3,
Yeah, he's
top 5
2.
players in the tournament. Yeah, he's number 2. Okay.
Yeah, it's Messi than him in terms of name recognition. Right now, it's tough because, again, he's playing in Saudi Arabia, and it's like, how good is he really at this point? He is getting up there in age, for sure. It's like Messi, where it's like...
He's playing live soccer?
Yeah, basically. But, yeah, it's going to be really interesting because he is, towards the end of his career, or I guess really the latter half of his career, he's had to have been like just an out-and-out striker. And other guys have had to be the kind of speed and the creativity to kind of get those dudes, get him service. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm be interested to see. But man, the rest of that Portugal team around him could be pretty special.
Who would be number 3 on that list after Messi and
Mbappe?
Okay, Mbappe. I was gonna say and Neymar's still.
Yeah, Neymar would be name recognition wise. Neymar would be pretty high up there. I think it might be Mbappe now.
Spanish fellas
Yamal,
rising.
Yamal, yeah.
Like there's that. You know what? I think that's a workable 5 as a total casual.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you told me those are the 5 most famous people playing in the World Cup, I'd say that's you can maybe argue with like who's 3 and who's 4 and who's 5, but I think that's probably a pretty good list.
Also, shout out to Cape Verde.
Yes.
What a moment that was. That was because people will say all the time like, "Oh, soccer, it's boring. They don't score." Let me tell you, that was the most thrilling scoreless game of soccer I've ever watched. Like that was unbelievable. And in case you don't know, Cape Verde's the second smallest country to ever make it to the World Cup. The smallest is Curacao, who got killed by Germany the other day. They played Spain, top 5 team on the planet, and held them scoreless. They were playing defense all game. They only had 1 foul in all 90 minutes, which I think is beyond remarkable.
I'm really interested to see if fantastic. I'm really interested to see if with Cape Verde
40-year-old goalkeeper too. Like that. Yeah. That was the other part about it. It was really cool.
Who went from like 50,000 Instagram followers to 2 million over the course of the game.
It's pretty sick.
It's like I think that the next couple of games for Spain, it's like is something wrong, or was that just a phenomenal performance by Cape Verde that's going to look more phenomenal as we see more from Spain over the course of the tournament.
All right.
There's a ton of pressure on me not to pick Italy right now.
Well, you can't really do that.
But
We're talking World Cups.
After having picked Japan and Germany, I can't take Italy here. You know what? Shout out Canada.
Okay.
I'll ride hard for my friends, in Nickelback and Catherine O'Hara, Celine Dion,
Kenny Omega,
Bret Hart. The first Team Canada that I was part of was the Hart Foundation.
Sure.
Right. So that was the first one, but I'll rep for everything Canada's contributed to, not just pop culture, not just comedy, not just professional wrestling, but sports. I mean, just a ton of productive. Not so much. I struggle to tell you about Canadian soccer. But
Alphonso Davies.
There you go.
The other day, it was their first point they've ever had at a World Cup. They got a draw and it was their first against Bosnia, and that was their first ever point.
I tell you what, though, turn that field into ice, and I like their chances over almost anyone else in the field this year. I think I'll rep Canada. I'll stand on guard.
You'll stand on guard for Canada. All right, how about this? You'll go Canada. There are people who are going to be mad at me for this.
Oh, yeah,
I do not care. I find myself liking the Mexican national team from time to time. Now, I will say
Justin has put on a La Parka costume now for the folks listening.
Mystico mask. Here's the thing. There was a
it's a suit and the luchador mask, which I always think is the best look.
Yeah, I look
the
like
Santo. This is the Santo.
Santo Blue Demon. Like, yeah. There was a time when the U.S.-Mexico rivalry was super nasty and like really rough. When the U.S. basically helped Mexico get into the World Cup in qualifying, I think that changed somewhat. I think it's still a rivalry, but it's like a lot, at least on the field, it's a lot friendlier than it used to be. A lot more cooperative, like mutual respect and admiration. Here's the thing I'll say about the Mexican national team. Chicharito Hernandez was one of my favorite players at Manchester United, so I'll always ride for him. I hated Rafa Marquez. I will always hate Rafa Marquez. I find that Guillermo Ochoa still being on World Cup rosters is insane. Mexico always has some of the sickest uniforms at the World Cup. The way they play on like the Aztec imagery, but they also do like really cool stuff with the green, white, and red. Really cool. Estadio Azteca looks unreal. I would love to go to a match there at some point in my life. I probably never will, but it's really cool. And here's the other thing too. If you have ever been around Mexican soccer fans when a Mexican national team match is going on, it's fun.
Yeah.
It is fun. Now, I would not advise doing that when it's U.S. Mexico if you are an American and you're not a Mexican fan. But I really like it. I find myself really enjoying Mexican soccer and a lot of the aspects of it. And I think since the rivalry has toned down its intensity, I find it easier to say. Like the other day when they were playing South Africa, but they had a couple of really good goals, and they're just like, man, I want to see these guys kind of go on a run. I want to see the U.S. obviously go as far as possible. I'd love to see the U.S. win the whole thing, but like, I had CONCACAF pride a little North American love. If you're going to go Canada, I'll go Mexico.
Ochoa turns 41 during the tournament. By the way, we were just talking about 40-year-old 40-year-old goaltenders. Mexico could in fact have a 41-year-old goaltender if this thing continues. But yeah, no, that's and it's cliche, but the passion of the
so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome surrounding. I've been back in LA. I was there for a couple of like when the Mexican national team was in town, and you could tell it was Beatlemania. Like it was a thing when they rolled in.
I covered a Mexican soccer, like a Gold Cup match one time when I was in college, when I was like stringing for a blog, and that was fun. I really enjoyed that, so I'll always go back to that one.
And tough fourth choice for me. I'm gonna take. Give me South Korea.
Here we go.
Yeah, give me South Korea.
Fun win for them the other night.
Yeah, give me that team always brings it in international competition. I'm old enough to remember, when there was like speed skating controversies. Shout out Apollo Anton Ono here on the podcast. Like there's none, and that's another. I'll tell you what, Justin. After seeing, because you were there, after seeing Jordan-Hare for Iceland and Argentina.
Yep.
Let me ask you this: next summer, box office, U.S. men's national team versus South Korea at Jordan-Hare.
That's a great idea.
Give me South Korea and America at Jordan-Hare next summer because of the local populations.
Wow. Yeah. That's a great idea. I haven't even thought about the South Korean team here. That would be really cool. Yeah.
How cool would that be?
I think that's awesome. Yeah, going off of that, I was this close, tempted, because this is going to be a new one for me this year. I was tempted to say, you know what? After watching Lionel Messi score in Jordan-Hare, I'm all for Argentina to make a run this year. And I still believe that, but it's new. I haven't always been an Argentina fan. Nothing against them. I just never been somebody I've been like, I really root for them when I'm out there. I started this list with an African team. I'm going to finish this list with an African team. Because if you don't get a sense of joy watching Ivory Coast play,
Côte d'Ivoire,
Les Elephants, they are so fun. They had a kid who was playing high school soccer in Florida like a couple years ago. Was the unplayable. Was the best dude on the field. Sunday night when he played. Oh man, and like, look, these dudes used to.
Is that the guy who was playing 4th Division American soccer? And it's like, I didn't know there was a 4th Division of American soccer.
They're crazy, man. Like, he's a superstar overnight at this point. These dudes back in the day used to like drive. Like, as a United fan, they used to like be the bane of my existence in league play. But like when they got around to, when you got around to international play, I always had a soft. And United's had some Ivory Coast guys in the past, but Drogba, Gervinho, like guys that would just be like, they were so fun. And it was just what I love about Ivory Coast, and you see this from time to time with other teams. I think Belgium does a good job of this as well. Germany used to do this to an extent, but like Belgium's the other one that really came to mind, where it's just like you can have all the technical skill in the world, you can have all the slick passing and all that. And Ivory Coast and Belgium are two that are kind of mine that I see where it's just like, we're just going to be bigger and faster than you. We're just going to, they kind of play it like American football. They're just like, you know what? You can't hang with us physically, and we're going to wear you down. And like, that's a lot of fun to watch sometimes.
World Cup soccer also gives me an opportunity to promote. It's I think the greatest, for my money, it might be my answer to the question, what's the greatest commercial ever? And it's Inarritu's short film for the 2010 World Cup, Right the Future, where we see the different, we see the alternate realities for these guys if they become World Cup heroes in their different countries. And Drogba has an excellent, I think he's like the first up, is Drogba in that commercial. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure it's available somewhere on the internet. Right the Future. It's a commercial from 2010 for the World Cup from Nike. Directed by it was like, I think Inarritu did The Revenant like a couple of years later, and it's a fantastic piece of work, and a lot of the stars of yesteryear in international football feature heavily.
All right, take us home, Dan. What's the last ObservFour for this episode?
And you know what? Filmmaking feels appropriate for this one because I want you, Justin Ferguson, to recommend 4 films worth seeing that our audience probably hasn't seen before. Toss 4 movies out there that you feel like you can recommend. They can be newish, they can be older. You can go in different directions here. But toss a couple of recs out there for folks. If
All
they.
Right. Can you bat lead off on this one so you can kind of give me an example?
I will bat lead off, and I will bat lead off with a movie I've watched recently that I had not seen in a very long time, and it is a film from. I should have looked this up beforehand. It's either 1954 or 1957. You can check it out for me. It's on the waterfront. Elia Kazan's movie about organized crime on the docks in New York City, and it's just
54.
Yeah, it's or Jersey, like it's fantastic. It's Marlon Brando. So it's a movie about dock workers organizing and a guy sort of standing up for himself, and it's super watchable. A couple of the best speeches anyone gets to give. Not just like Brando's got a couple famous ones, but Carl Malden plays the priest, and have you ever seen it on the waterfront, Justin?
Yeah,
you should. Yeah, I mean it's fantastic, and Carl Malden gives a couple of great speeches. The fellow who plays the villain, Johnny Friendly, Lee J. Cobb. I looked up some other so this got me into a rabbit hole about I've looked up. He had a fantastic career. He's in another one of the best movies of the 50s, 12 Angry Men. He's the juror who is convinced of the guilt of the other party in 12 Angry Men. He's also the detective in The Exorcist. Lee J. Cobb was a great actor. He was also the original Willie Loman in the first ever staging of Death of a Salesman, which got me looking up some other Death of a Salesman actors. And the original Happy from Death of a Salesman was the villain in Space Mutiny, Justin Ferguson. So I mean that's
wow.
I believe the last film he ever worked on was he's the Pat Riley looking villain in Space Mutiny.
Looks like his skull's trying to escape his face.
That guy was Happy in the first ever Death of a Salesman.
That's crazy.
So anyways, yeah, and that's a roundabout way of saying you should see On the Waterfront if you've never seen it before. Orson Welles would want me to point out that Elia Kazan informed on his friends and then made a movie about the informer being the hero, and how difficult it is to inform on your friends.
It's a really tough one. It's a really tough one.
But that does not change the fact that it's an excellent movie.
Yeah. The first one that came to mind, and maybe it's just because I'm in soccer mode right now. If you've never seen The Damned United, it is a really good just movie, period. But came out in 2009. It's kind of like there was a novel based on Brian Clough's very short tenure in the 70s as the manager at Leeds United, and this is the film version of it. So it's not a straight up here's what everything happened, but it's like a guy that, I mean, it's not historically accurate, but it is absolutely thrilling to watch. Michael Sheen is just crazy good in it, and yeah, I mean, it's just a really, really good book, and then later a movie, as it is about just kind of this larger than life dude who thinks he's untouchable manager, and just kind of the slow unraveling of it. It's really, really good. I would highly recommend it if you're in a soccer mood right now, because it didn't do well at all in the box office when it came out, and it kind of went under the radar, especially for American audiences. But it's one of the best sports movies I've ever watched.
No, it's fantastic. I didn't know where you were going to go when you said soccer movie right? I mean, there's the Sylvester Stallone one where he's in the prison camp. There's Bend It Like Beckham. There's the Michael Fassbender movie that they did just a couple years ago. It's the documentary. Next Goal Wins.
Next Goal Wins, yeah.
They made up. And by the way, Next Goal Wins is a phenomenal documentary. Could very well make this list. I have not seen the. I think it's Watiti.
It's Tiger,
right? Yeah. I have not seen Next Goal Wins, the film. I will mention the movie that kind of inspired this. Me thinking about this. I still have not seen Disclosure Day. I want to. There are several Spielbergs that I feel like you could pick. Depending on your mood for this. AI AI artificial intelligence. I'd slept on it. I saw it in theaters, and I don't think I'd watched it since until recently. Actually, TCM showed it the night of the soccer game at Jordan Hare as part of the build up to Disclosure Day, and I've since watched it again, and it's outstanding. It's prescient about the future in much the same way Minority Report is. It's also got those classic like Spielberg, tugging at your heartstrings with interactions between mothers and sons and fathers and sons and children watching their parents and stuff like that. And it's Haley Joel Osment delivers Sixth Sense and AI are two of the best performances you will ever see by a child actor ever. And he carries much of AI and it's shockingly dark at times.
Yes,
for a movie that at other points feels like a kid's movie. Has kind of E.T.'s tone at times, but also then goes really scary and really dark and really real. And if you've never seen AI, it is it's outstanding.
My second pick is a famous movie. I was just talking about this movie the other day, and I want to speak to the younger folks listening to us, so the younger generation, and I guess maybe some older folks who may have never seen it or have heard about it and have never seen it, or it's been a while since you've revisited it. It's again a famous movie, but I think it's one. It came out 62 years ago, and it's unlike anything I've ever watched, and which is why I love it so much. Dr. Strangelove. If you've never seen Dr. Strangelove, watch Dr. Strangelove.
Great call.
It is, again, it's a comedy. It's a hilarious movie, but it's not like any normal comedy you've probably ever seen. It's satire. There's so many layers to it. Some of the performances are like world famous good. Kubrick, it's really nothing like Kubrick ever did. Again, it's a one of a kind movie. And so if you've never seen Dr. Strangelove, I highly recommend watching it. It gets weird. It gets off the rails at times. You have to it took me every time I watch it, I pick up something different that I didn't get the last time I watched it. So if you've never seen Dr. Strangelove, that's the one. Again, very, very famous movie, but I think the deeper in time we get, the less people have seen it. Go and watch it.
George C. Scott is one of my favorite actors ever,
So
and he's
good.
just amazing. He's amazing in Dr. Strangelove. He didn't. I mean, you could recommend a million George C. Scott movies. I think that's the best Christmas Carol adaptation. Is the one he's in. He's in Hardcore, not Hardcore. No, it is.
He is in Hardcore.
He's in Hardcore. I was gonna say he's in 8mm, but that's not. That's a different. That's a very similar movie with Nicolas Cage. 20 years later,
Right.
And also
Leave it at that.
Tony Soprano and
Moving on.
the fellow from The Wire, Ziggy's dad. They're both in.
The farther we get removed from mentioning hardcore on this podcast, the better.
Yeah, sure. That's not one of my four.
I'm glad.
I will not pick.
Real breezy watch.
I'll not pick a Paul Schrader movie as one of my four. Does everyone know Do the Right Thing is awesome? Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee, late 80s is like, I mean, it's it is a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Too. Like, I mean, it's just the way that it shifts tone, and another movie that is not afraid to get very uncomfortable and very real, and like that is a, and just, I mean, yeah, like a movie that it's palpable, like the tension and the heat and the anger coming through in that movie, especially in the final minutes. Like it's another movie that I would recommend wholeheartedly to just about anyone to see as it is worth your time. Like, even if you may not come away thinking it's like one of your favorite movies. It's not the easiest watch, but it is worth your time, and and gave us a little glimpse of what. And Spike just got his, the Knicks just won for Spike, so I'll put a Spike Lee movie on my list.
I'm going to stick with a comedy theme here. This is not a movie in the sense of a regular movie, but it is a feature length thing that you can watch on film. I was reminded of it the other day once again. I think for my money, it is one of the 5 funniest things I've ever watched. I think about it and quote it constantly. Again, not a movie, very different, but if you've never seen the Netflix special of John Mulaney and Nick Kroll's Oh Hello on Broadway, it's so good. Yeah. It's so the amount of jokes they are able to layer in there, and like they just pack it. It is almost every line of that thing's quotable. Incredible stuff. It's masterclass in comedy writing.
And I would say along those lines, like I feel like people probably like haven't seen Kroll Show.
Yeah.
And it's streaming somewhere. I think maybe Paramount has it. I don't know. Like, it was on Comedy Central, so I would guess Paramount has it. But Kroll Show was like really laser focused parody of what was on TV in the mid-aughts, and sort of going in different directions. And it's like, assuredly some of it is aged, but some of it is also like just really, really sharp, really, really funny. And Nick Kroll does great character work, but I think it's like Jenny Slate is hitting home runs on that show. Mulaney is really funny. Like, he had a John Daly, like he had a great sort of cast of players there on Kroll Show with him, and Nick Kroll's a very funny. Oh, and like Jordan Peele would come around, and they do the ref sketches that go viral every couple of years. So yeah, there's great stuff on Kroll Show, and the Oh Hello guys make a couple of appearances, pranking people with too much tuna. My fourth one will be, my stuff has been, I've been going older, and there was a great movie made in the 2020s that I finally got around to see. I assume everybody's seen Conclave. I won't beat the drum for Conclave, which I did love, and I already picked a Spielberg, so I won't say West Side Story, which I also really, really liked. After Sun is phenomenal. After Sun is just outstanding, and that's a debut feature of written, directed by a young woman, Catherine Wells, I want to say is I might have that wrong, but she is an outstanding, like it's astonishing. It's a work that you would believe was made by somebody who was considerably older and considerably more experienced. It's raw. It's heartbreaking at times, but like that is After Sun is a beautiful film from the last couple of years. I feel like when I see Paul Mescal in anything, I'm constantly referring back to having seen him just rip your heart out a couple of times in After Sun.
All right, so there was about, I would say, 7, 8, 9 years ago,
Charlotte Wells is her name, by the way. Sorry about that.
7, 8, 9 years ago, I was really into the Oscars and like trying to like make sure I watched everything and was kind of plugged in on everything.
And you're back now because of Conan.
Yeah, too. But I mean, I would have like really strong opinions on like who's going to win this and who's going to win that, and I don't really find myself in that much.
Who's gonna win and who's gonna lose?
Yes, exactly. 2018 was one of those years where 2018, 2019, around that time I was really into it. And I remember watching, I had all the Best Picture noms watched, and then I went through documentary feature because I had friends who had recommended some of the documentaries that were nominated that year. There was a movie that came out in 2018, a documentary called Minding the Gap.
Oh, yeah.
It is about a guy shoots it over the course of like 12 years, and it's him and his two friends who grown up in Illinois are skateboarders, and it really deals with like heavy themes of like masculinity, growing up, poverty, racial relations, community. Like, it is heavy stuff, and it is a remarkable piece of filmmaking for a guy that, and I remember this now that I went back and looked up this guy again. So one of the guys so he's the centerpiece of the documentary, him and his two friends. This guy named Bing Liu. Bing Liu, born in China, moved to Tuskegee and lived several years of his life in Tuskegee when his mom was going to college here, and then ended up bouncing around. And part of that is part of the story as well. Family dynamics, like it's just so much of it, and it's a documentary that I watched it.
And he directed it or co-directed it, right?
He directed it,
yeah.
And it's a documentary I watched I remember I watched it like almost a decade ago at this point, right before the Oscars were announced, because like I had a friend of mine who's now since passed told me like, you need to watch, like, I think this should win documentary feature, you should watch it. And I remember watching it right before the Oscars came on, and I remember being blown away. And it's heavy, and it makes you think, and it is a movie that has resonated with me for years and years, to the point where if I think about documentaries or there's just some shots and there's some lines in that have just kind of stuck with me forever. So not a whole lot, like, that's not a genre of film we talk about a ton, but the really good ones really stick with you. And Minding the Gap is one that I remember watching as a guy, in my 20s, that was like, it really, really stuck with me, and it still does to this day.
I considered OJ Made in America.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I believe it to be like,
you have a free 19 hours, you can go watch that.
I believe that to be like the greatest, piece of, maybe ESPN's greatest like contribution, like when it's all said and done. And when you started talking about the documentary you watched, like I was thinking you were going to mention, is it 15 Feet from Stardom?
Yeah, that's a good one.
15 Feet from Stardom is fantastic too, about the backup singers for different artists. But no, I'm glad you mentioned Minding the Gap, because it is one of several outstanding. There have been, like, skateboarding and surfing culture has produced like some riveting pieces of documentary filmmaking. Dogtown and Z-Boys, comes to mind. 12 O'Clock Boys is kind of in that neighborhood of that, about the bike culture. Even Endless Summer, right? Getting back to like very early surfing culture. So yeah, that's a great call.
All right, well, you have your marching orders, and if you don't want to watch all these and you've seen all of them, or you want to do something, Dan, you can always just watch. People can always just watch the Mystery Science Theater version of Space Mutiny, right?
Brick hard cheese.